Thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to take a look at the latest trailer that just dropped a few hours ago from Bandai Namco for Digimon Story Time Stranger. This is a game that I found out because one of my viewers requested that I cover this topic. And so I take a look at it, and I'm very much looking forward to this game now. I've covered this in other videos, so I'll put the links to those videos in the description. Today we're going to look at this trailer from an artistic standpoint and as a game developer. I develop games full-time for a living, and I just make these videos on YouTube so we can have fun and we can chat and just talk about stuff that we like. So I'm going to be sharing my perspective as a developer and as an artist. I'm going to point out things that I think are quite interesting. I want to preface this by saying that it's, from an artistic standpoint, and to have artistic value, it is not the number of pixels or polygon that gives something quality. To have something be expressive or beautiful has nothing to do with the resolution or the frame rate or the pixels. For some reason, we're kind of hyper-fixated on saying, oh, resolution, wow, look at the resolution that makes the game beautiful. No, it does not. Resolution has nothing to do with quality. Resolution is more about quantity, more so than anything else. It is the art itself that is created by someone who has lived experiences, who has lived a life and brought in interesting ideas and can express it in a way that is interesting, that people can understand, that people can connect with, and to introduce new ideas to someone. That is what makes something interesting. And I find this game very interesting. And we'll just go through it. I'll put the link in the description to this trailer so you can watch in full, but the trailer cuts pretty quickly. We see a number of scenes that are set in, I guess, the past, where things are quite happy and nice, and then the future where things are not so good. Obviously, there's going to be some details and expression where it shows that, like there's damage to the wood and these cloth things, there's holes in them. And something I find interesting is that there's some animation here. There is billowing. It is billowing in the wind a little bit. I found that pretty neat. But this is interesting to me because in general, when you see games try to depict nighttime, they just make it dark. And it seems like whoever is composing this scene thinks, oh, it's dark, just make there be no light. But visually it is, and coming from a photographic background, visually it is the contrast between light and dark and how those two elements interact with each other, the tonal dynamic, the tonal contrast. That is what makes something visually interesting. So what I see from every example that I've seen from Time Stranger is whoever is in charge of composing scenes really understands that. They come from a photographic background and they know you have to have light in order to make dark interesting. So this appears to be moonlight coming through here. It's casting light on the cloth that's draping down here. So it's not just, ooh, it's nighttime, it's dark. Whoever is composing these scenes really understands photographic concepts. And I'm very glad to see that in a game environment here. And we cut to what is apparently the bad timeline or the future. And this creeps me out. I love this, how much this creeps me out. This is, I better get out of the way here. I'm taking up too much space. Minimize. This guy, wow. I mean, this gives me existential dread. I suppose we are led to assume both of these are sentient. So here's what gives me dread. You would never have privacy. You would never. And who has to wipe? Because one of these guys has to wipe. And that's not... Oh boy. Do you take turns wiping? Wow, I feel terrible about this. I feel so awful about this Digimon. So,
I should be able to.
Something I want to point out is this water is highly stylized. Something that we see in modern games is that there's an over-reliance on brute forcing our way into trying to make visuals interesting. Water tends to be quite heavy when it comes to performance. It has a high rendering cost on the hardware, and a lot of that has to do with real-time reflections, reflecting the environment, having to diffract whatever is underneath. We can see sort of diffraction for whatever geometry is under the water. We have caustic projection, where we can make it look like there's lights coming through the water and it's projecting underneath the waves there and landing on the surfaces there. Then you have real-time reflections, and all of that causes the game frame rate to drop. That is something that's just expensive. But what I noticed about the water here, it's stylized, it's vibrant, it's colorful, but I'm having a hard time detecting real-time reflections. And if there are any, I kind of see something here. It looks like any reflections are probably based on a single fixed image. So it's not using real time, and real time is reflecting real geometry and everything. That is significantly more expensive. It causes the frame rate to drop. I'm not seeing that here. So this to me makes me think that they've considered performance. They've considered performance throughout the entire time of development. And to me, it tells me that they've chosen a solution that favors performance. So it's good to see this. Sometimes, again, it's better to not do more. Sometimes you don't need more. You don't need more detail.
Open the gate.
We can see here in the back, I don't fully know the story. I'm just going to say this is probably the future or the bad timeline. We can see that, or the ruined timeline, that the water is red here. Now, this is possibly a reference to red tide. It's a condition caused by a single-celled organism called a dinoflagellate, and that is not a dinosaur that hits itself with whips, but this is Digimon, so that a dinoflagellate could exist here. But basically, that red tide is a condition where a harmful algae bloom just spreads throughout the water in an overwhelming way, and it strips the oxygen out of the water, and it makes all the fish die because there's no oxygen in the water, and that's what red tide is. I'm not sure if this is a reference to that, but I think it very well may be, which is pretty good. And maybe we have some marine biologists on the development team here for this game. Something I really like, we'll just move on ahead. The designs are so cool here. Something that I've noticed and really like here is variable line width when it comes to the outlines of the characters. This is quite prominent in the latest Bleach game that launched, is variable line width. In the past, say for example, on the PS2 days, we had thick outlines around the characters, and it was novel at the time because we had never seen it before, and it kind of looked like the anime, and it was pretty cool. But when you look back at those, they're quite dated. When you look at these here, you can see the line width on the geometry actually varies. It's thicker up here, thinner in certain areas, and it seems to get a little lighter towards the edges, which is really great. We also have the detail here in the scarf, which helps it have definition, and it sells that hand-drawn look. Something I really like is the considerate lighting. Not only do we have this sort of highlights in the hair here, because this game is setting out to achieve a hand-drawn anime look, they employ certain visual techniques to help convey that and convince the player that that's kind of what they're going for. Something that they've done here is they framed the lighting. This is a choice, an artistic choice. You can see the lighting catch the edges of the scarf here. It gives it a sense of depth. This is how it would look if it were hand drawn. And you can see the lighting, the highlights, the rim lighting catching just here. This is it's a big deal. To me, it tells me that these developers are artists who have considered how to convey something using light and shadow, and they're able to confidently and competently use their game engine to convey and express visual ideas and conceptual ideas. These are strong developers. This game will be good. This game has already made a case for itself that it is made by people who really know what they're doing. And so that it's small details like this that tell me, oh yeah, these developers really know what they're doing. If you look at other games, I'm not going to name names. I don't want to insult anyone's other developers and other games, but there are other titles out there where I see a complete lack of that understanding. And to me, I can still enjoy a game, even though I can see the developers just don't have a stronger, deeper understanding. I can still enjoy those games. I'm not going to be overly critical and be a nanny boo-boo naysayer. I can still enjoy those games when I see that level of comprehension and competence in a game like this. I get fired up. It's so cool to see this. Also, all the windows are modeled. Just saying the windows aren't textures, all the windows are modeled. That's all I'm gonna say.
No matter what.
This is so great. I really enjoy the scene. It really has a lived-in feeling. You know, there's imperfections to the textures here. There's grime, there's dirt. The Digimon, these guys are sparring, I think, over here. It has a lived-in feeling. Now there is an artistic choice they made here that I really appreciate this. I really like this. Now, when you are creating art, a visual medium, you are expressing something. You are not literally creating the thing that you are trying to express. You are creating an abstraction of it to share the idea with someone, to express an idea, a thought, a feeling. And something that I noticed here, which is just artistically such a cool choice, is they've put clouds in front of the tower. Now, in general, that wouldn't happen. The clouds generally probably wouldn't be that low unless we're really high elevation, you know, and even then that it wouldn't really be like that. So realistically, that most likely wouldn't happen. It wouldn't look like that. The clouds would be behind the tower, but this is a visual medium. It's a work of art, and they have chosen to put clouds in front of the tower because it makes it looks like, and it makes the viewer feel like that tower is higher up than it actually is. You have little wispy clouds here and then thicker clouds obstructing the tower. It makes it feel like the tower goes higher than it actually does. It makes the tower feel bigger, and to me, this again tells me these are artists that really know how to express an idea or a feeling. I really like that. Oh, I want to point out that Secret Edamon was hanging out there, just chilling. Just there.
After all, that's what we promised back on that starry night in Shin.
Let's look at.
That's what we promised.
So, this is Aegiomon. I think he's your guardian.
You were the one.
Can wear human clothes. So Digimon can wear human clothes. So why then do so many Digimon not wear pants when I think it's clear that they do need pants? Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm too conservative. Am I old and out of touch, complaining that more Digimon should have pants? I don't know. I really like this scene here. This is what I really appreciate is the scale of the battle, and something that these developers are very good at is selling a sense of scale. They can make you feel small, and you're engaging with something that's just so much bigger than you that it's intimidating. And something about the Digimon games is that there is a sense of intimidation. It is scary. It is dangerous. It feels dangerous. And this is cool. I get the feeling there's people on the development team that actually spend time outside, outdoors. They know what it feels like to be outdoors next to in an environment where you feel small and things around you feel huge. I just adore the composition of the scene here. So let's just go ahead and break this down here. So not only do you have this guy taking up the majority of the scene here, you have a low camera that's sort of looking up towards the enemy here, the ultimate Brachiomon. But I love the composition here. We have this geologic feature here, these rocks. They are this hand-painted look is really nice. So we break up the nature of that with they're round, right? We have this roundness here, and then we have harsh angularity and also textural contrast when it comes to the metallic components here, the scaffolding, the pipe. So it's metal on stone, so there's textural dynamic and contrast there. We have this interesting structure, so all of these break up visual lines here. We have visual lines that are all being broken up by other visual elements. We have elements that are moving in and out of the foreground. We have lighting that's used in an interesting way. This is shown that whoever composed this absolutely understands how to use light and shadow to express something interesting. We have light sources here that cast shadows on the geometry itself. We have less punchiness and sharpness when it comes to this side of the scene here. You see there's less dynamic, so your eyes are drawn not towards the corners. It's not good to draw your viewer's eyes away from the center. If you have harsh light sources on the corners. You're pulling the viewer's focus away from the center where you want them to look, and it results in very weak, bad flow. So visually, all of these scenes are so strong. What I really like about this as well is the eye color just sort of matches the lighting, but it's sharp and harsh in a way where you notice it. It's drawn to it. And then you have the cool colors of the dark blue, the stars in the distance, and you can see just a peak of the night sky there. And back here, this is composed so excellently, and I've seen so many scenes from these trailers that where I'm just so impressed by the way. I'm impressed is all I can say. I have the utmost respect for these developers. This is brilliant. This game is gorgeous. Let's go ahead and step forward a bit.
In the underground below Shinjuku.
We have a Geomon here.
That wasn't a coincidence.
And what I've noticed here are these digital cubes are being pulled toward a ball. It looks like some structures being constructed. They're being pulled towards the ball. If this is your first time visiting Earth, welcome. Humans love balls. They're obsessed with them. That's just for your background information here. And I do like that the cubes sort of flicker in and out there. Kind of neat. It looks like they're glitching out. We get to see a little bit more varied environments here. You get to ride on your big friend here. Something I noticed as a developer, I see multiple light sources influencing Frigimon here. And I want to understand this a little bit better because we don't see that on the character here. So I'm not sure if this has something to do with the specific shader that's being used for Frigimon here, but I find that interesting. You can see that his shader is reacting to ambient light and then probably a point light source there or something. I'm not sure. Multiple light sources. Interesting. Interesting. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'd like to play it and see for myself. Okay.
A different world and
something I really like here are creepy hands. This gives me, you know, My Hero Academia creepy hand vibes. You got hands all over the place, hands in places where they shouldn't be, creep me out. Look, I like Nico Robin, but the hands thing creeps me out, man. Getting too handsy, I don't like it. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I'm too conservative. Too many hands is all I'm saying. That's my political stance. Too many hands.
different times. Ew.
I want to point out
I'll
some
always be
interesting
protecting you and
composition
watching
here
over
at
you.
57 seconds. We'll
The
just...
stars and
This is interesting. This is an interesting scene to me. I quite like this. I just want to point out again, from a photographic and artistic standpoint, if I were photographing the scene, this is something that I might consider. So an amateur would try to keep things perfectly symmetrical and kind of neat. This is fascinating to me. We have a character in the very center, offset by two. We have a smaller character and a larger character, and this really has more focus because of the lighter colors here. So they've actually balanced it out by adding some mass here. So overall, and this just balances out the scene here. And we have these bright colors that stand out, that pull your focus up. They draw your focus. This is called visual flow. They pull your focus up. You have the bright light source, and then it appears to just point down and bring your focus back down to these characters, breaking up lines of visual monotony that we have here. We have trees that move and come in and flow at different angles. We have these here, and then we also have this tree here. Is actually, if you were to take this tree out, you see how it is catching some light, it's bringing some focus in. If we didn't have that there, you'd take that for granted, but it would make the scene actually feel significantly more dull, and it would feel unbalanced because you have detail value through this tree here. And then the icing on the cake, this is so subtle. People generally wouldn't even care or notice about this, but from an artistic standpoint, we have trees that are clipping the corners just here, and they're catching light. So they are actually quite bright, and they do have some focus, but they're just accenting the edges, the corners here in an interesting way. And it brings the whole thing together because it pulls your focus back in. It pulls you in just a little bit, and your flow brings you back like this. Beautifully composed. All of the scenes that I've seen, I'm impressed.
I am aware that there are others like yourselves who are capable.
I think I'm going on a bit too much about how much I enjoy and appreciate this. So this is, I just want to point out a little, here's a tired salaryman. He looks tired, man. He's had works hard. Something I notice about the detail here is his eyes have a harshness to them with sharp angles, and I really appreciate that detail because all the other characters don't have this harshness. They have roundness to their eyes. This guy's a tired salary man. He would love a day off, but it's not going to happen.
That life has done nothing.
Something I like about this here, the lines indicate that these nails are not just textures, they are modeled. The nails are actually part of the 3D model. And that's interesting, and I can tell because these lines that we see on the character, the lines are not part of the model. They are added visually through a post process. After the scene is rendered, then the lines are added in through advanced calculations. And seeing the lines here tells me that the nails are part of the 3D model, which is interesting to me as a developer. I do like these streak lines. They make it feel like a manga. It makes me feel like I'm looking at a Toriyama drawn panel where someone just did a big key blast and then someone's getting erased, you know? I'll try to speed through this now. I think I'm droning on too long about how much I really respect the artwork here. I really like what I'm seeing. We see a couple different forms for Agumon or evolutions. This is a nature-focused form. We have one that looks like he's based on technology, some sort of mecha. That's pretty neat. I do like that one. I do like blue and the yellow accents. Very cool. Such cool designs, man. This is so neat. Big scary dudes.
Not easily tread upon.
I do want to point out the windows are modeled. All the windows here are part of the model. They're not just textures, they are modeled. I really appreciate the lighting here. The thick denseness of the atmosphere really sells a sense of the sunset. This is so cool. What a cool scene. We have these airstream effects to really sell that we're moving fast. It's so cool. Oh, Agumon's flying. That's kind of neat. Is that a form? A different form for Agumon where he can fly? Pretty neat. This guy's a cool dude. I don't know who this is. Neat. What a neat dude. But I guess Digimon can ride on other Digimon. I don't know. It's like a Calyrex situation, I suppose.
And Agumon, the most
this is like an Oni form, I think. Kind of cool. Very cool.
Source of the anomaly.
This is creepy. I like... Digimon has a real edge to it. It always felt more harsh and more mature than Pokemon, and I really enjoy both series for their own reasons. And I just really... Some things about Digimon are really creepy. This is unsettling, intimidating. It really sells a sense of danger and a little bit of body horror. And I think Digimon does have that. For example, when in the original Digimon Adventure anime, when Tai's Greymon turned to Skull Greymon, that was body horror. That's terrifying, you know? So that's something Digimon is good at. Creepy. I really like the ground material here. I just want to point out artistically, I don't want to harp on too much. I think I'm just admiring this too much. I am kind of, yeah, I'm gushing a bit about how much I respect the work that's gone into this. But again, at the framing, the visual flow, but really they show they have a strong understanding of how to use a game engine and its tools to express something visually in an interesting and expressive way. It's very dark in the corners here, isn't it? Right? There's a harshness to the shadows, and it pulls us into the center of the scene here. There's also dynamic, there's a roughness between the dark and the light tiles. If this were Pokemon, it would just be a straight, harsh line. That's just, Pokemon has a very... The visuals in 3D Pokemon games are not expressive. They are the opposite of expressive. They're counter-expressive. But you can see there's a roughness and an imperfection between the lines that it makes this feel organic and lived in, despite the fact, and I'm not using the word realistic because we're not going for realism, we're going for expressiveness and organicness, and this feels organic and it feels lived in. There are imperfections in that. It's just a great artistic choice to make. I really like that.
Moment forward. They're to be recognized as Class A anomalies. Go at once and eliminate Agumon,
140 here.
along with Inori Misono.
This scene I absolutely love. our focus is originally starts down here where it is brightest, and of course it's thematic. We start at street level and we move upwards. It pulls us upwards. This shows to me an understanding of visual flow. We have this homeliness of a familiar grocery store, something familiar, and it very warm. Our eyes are drawn to warm colors, yellows, reds, oranges. And instead of pulling us away, we're actually, these lines sort of bring us up, and then it sort of whips us back around. And the lines here bring us away from the edges towards the center. They are pointing. See, these lines bring us towards the center here. They bring us towards the center. We see our characters. We notice them, but they're not the most important thing. And our focus settles around here and then brings us up to this building here. These are the warm colors. These are the cold colors, but this scene is composed in such a way that it, through visual flow, brings us up to what we are supposed to be looking at. This building must be important. Despite the fact that there are similar buildings that have similar color, similar tone, it is composed in a way where they can still be in front of this building but have less focus. You see the contrast of the light. They're not as bright, except for this guy's pretty bright here. This building looks pretty important, doesn't it? These buildings that are obscuring this one are not as bright. They're not as dark. They're not as bright. So there's less contrast. Look at that. And you have this wind flow here. It brings us... Oh. This is just beautifully framed. I think I've gone on admiring their work too much, but they've just done a brilliant job.
The natural laws
really
of the
fantastic.
world have already begun
Okay.
to break down.
We'll wait for the trailer to get to 53 seconds. This guy's cool. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. I'm watching these Digimon trailers and I just find myself saying, look at that cool dude. I want that to be my friend. He's cool.
Destiny beside you.
I want this guy to be my friend. Okay, this is this is a lot. This is a lot of sexual energy. This is something Digimon has. Okay, look, Pokemon has Lopunny, right? Okay, and Gardevoir, sure, but does a blindfold? A busty gal blindfolded? It's a lot of sexual energy. And I enjoy that about Digimon. It's kind of makes you feel a little uncomfortable, you know. This is a scene that shows an example of how these developers understand how to frame scenes to make the player feel small. You can see we're actually using an angle here, a Dutch angle, where the camera's tilted, the characters are in a lower portion of the scene, and it makes everything feel unbalanced, and it really sells the size of this. It makes this feel bigger than it actually is. The focal length of the lens, it can make things either squash or it can make things look smaller in the foreground or make things look bigger in the foreground. And they're choosing focal lengths that make perspective more prominent. And it makes these characters feel small. It's really great. And it makes the environment feel big. Just great job. I think I'm going on and on. I really like this detail. You see as that food drops into his mouth, there are little splashes. That's great attention to detail. This thing creeps me out. I don't like this because there's faces on the leg armor. And I say I don't like it in a way that, you know, I do like it. I like it because I don't like it because it creeps me out. I don't like that at all. It's so creepy. But I like that. I like the weird designs of Digimon. I like that it makes me feel something. Because one day you'll become an adult and you will just lose the ability to feel things that you used to feel. And that's life. So it's great being able to appreciate and enjoy. So this is a lot of sexual energy going on here. Great. Real stabby, real pokey. So that's what I wanted to discuss today. This has been great. This has been so fun looking at this. I'll put the link in the description if you want to take a look at this. Launches October 3rd. I'm very much looking forward to this. This is cool. This sort of thing, I've stopped engaging in this kind of thing personally because I used to buy a bunch of deluxe stuff and then I found I didn't really use the stuff I was paying extra money for. So for me, I'm not super interested in that. For me, I would get the standard edition. But if you are interested in this other stuff like the costumes, you got costumes from Cyber Sleuth, which is super cool. And this one, you have outfits from Digimon Adventure, Tai, Kari, Patamon, and then just a random slutty maid. I guess slutty maids are popular these days. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I appreciate you watching the video. If you would like to support me on the channel here so I can spend more time making these videos, you can support me through channel memberships here on YouTube or through Patreon. I really appreciate all of your support. I buy a lot of costumes and props to do funny gags here on the channel, and then I do have to focus on developing my games full-time, and so I have to step away from that work in order to create these videos. So the more support I have here for the channel, the more time I can spend just making fun videos and taking a look at topics that you guys request. Thanks very much. Okay, be well, take care.